welcome. Thank you for being here. If you don't know, Rhode Island is going through changes. It's going through changes in a daily basis, but most importantly, starting next year, you are going to see changes in Rhode Island that have not happened, at least in the 20 years that I've been here, or even longer. One of those changes is that although Rhode Island has always talked about inclusiveness, if you look in any, besides as far as I can remember, the health department, when it comes to minorities, you don't see it anywhere that is inclusive of Rhode Island laws. Well, one of the changes that is taking place is that Rhode Island is doing their planning for the next 25 years. In that planning, for the first time, the minority community has to be included. And even more importantly, it is included. So when you hear equity and inclusion in Rhode Island, it's not the same equity and inclusion that you have heard for the last 100 years. Because you cannot have inclusion, you can have inclusion, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee equity. So they have had several reports, and I'm sharing this with you because I have been part of some of the meetings and whatnot. So for the next 25 years, they developing their economic development plan. Minorities are included. One of the reports that they did was about equity, which shows that for the last 25 years, all of the growth of Rhode Island has been through the minority community. And that inclusion, so now when we talk about inclusion, again, it's not just based on what somebody says or the census, is included in Rhode Island law. From what I understand and what I've been told, all of this visioning that the planning department has been doing, come October, is going to be turned over to the legislature. They are going to approve it, and it's already part of it. And once the legislature approve it, next year it's going to become the first vision plan for the next governor of Rhode Island. So, in other words, it's not going to be like, well, I'm going to build my vision plan and I'm not going to include the minority community. It's already included. So that's the importance of this meeting, and I'm glad that we have a good turnout, because the person that we have here is the new Director of Human Resources for the state of Rhode Island. So a lot of the changes that the equity and inclusion is talking about, I don't want to put any pressure on her, but it's going to become her responsibility. And let me just say that actually, Deb and I met back in February at a forum that I went to, Amica, and Cheryl was there, who we know each other for too long, but anyway, she made the introduction, we had a conversation, and immediately I understood that Deb understands what equity and inclusion is. And that afternoon when I got home, I sent her an email and I said, how about being our guest for the April event and whatnot? And needless to say, that's how we got where we are today. So we are hoping that you're going to hear from Deb as to what's coming. I just want to make a clarification, and it is that I was telling Sharon, I tell everybody, we're not going to be talking about what hasn't happened in Rhode Island. She's going to be talking about what is coming, and it's going to be happening in the future. So you can, we want to hear your concerns. We want to hear what has transpired right now. But again, her focus is going to be as to what's coming. So having said that, I give you my partner in crime, Manuela Raposo.
So we have with us here today Deborah Dawson, our newly appointed Director of Human Resources, who was recently appointed by Director of Administration Leach. I won't go into much detail. I'll let her give you the highlights of all the great work she's doing in our state. I will, however, tell you that she came back to Rhode Island in 2013 from Atlanta, and she lives with her husband, and she has 2 grown children and a grandbaby. She lives in North Providence. So please join me in welcoming Deborah Dawson.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be back in Rhode Island. Just to give you a little more background, I spent the last 5 years from January of 2009 through December of 2013 as the head of human resources for the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority. I was responsible for human resources, labor relations training, and diversity equal opportunity programs. I was fortunate in that position because I not only oversaw the diversity equal opportunity programs as related to the employment side, but I also had the small business side under me. So generally you don't find human resources people who understand both sides of it, but because it was part of my direct chain of command, I had to understand the small business side. And I will tell you that we were able to do some great things there in Atlanta, and I've spoken with my peers. We've spent many hours. Cheryl Burrell, who you all know, Armitha Gibbs, who probably most of you know, Victor Mendoza, Charles Newton, and Ray Lambert. We spend many hours together, seemingly locked up in a room on the 3rd floor of the Department of Administration planning. We have lots of good ideas. We have lots of things. We have lots of opportunity, and I am extremely excited to be part of it. So the first thing, so what got us here? So prior to, just to give you a little bit further background, I promise we won't go back 58 years, but I will tell you that prior to taking the position in Atlanta, I was the head of human resources, labor relations, and served as chief of staff for the Rhode Island Public Transit Authority. So now you can start to see the transit connection. It wasn't a real accident that I landed in Atlanta. I was recruited there by the former CEO. And although I swore that I'd never leave Rhode Island because most of us Rhode Islanders don't move very well, it was really rather enticing when I got there and saw the opportunity and also the resources they had. They had, actually I was fortunate for the past 5 years because they had money. And I say that all the time because I was able to do a lot of things, and I'm able to take a lot of those ideas back with me, and either the ideas are already hatched so we don't have to pay anybody to hatch them, or we can copy them on a smaller scale, because obviously we don't have the money they have. But that being said, so I've been practicing human resources for 30-ish years. I did take some time off. When I had children, I do have 2 adult sons, and as I said, a beautiful baby man. So I just seem to be always surrounded with men, but a female dog. And I am really happy to be back in Rhode Island. However, I am not happy about this past winter. It was really not, I guess it was my welcome back. Although the people in Atlanta thought they were suffering, and when they called me and said, "We have all this snow and ice," I said, "Please do not call me and tell me this. I don't think I'll see grass until July." So I'm a little bit mistaken. But Executive Order 1305 was signed by Governor Chafee last year. I believe it was May. I have to put the glasses on so I can see my notes. It was May of last year. And the executive order really was designed so that we would really begin to pay special attention to the issues of diversity, both in the workforce, the diversity in the workforce, ensuring that our workforce adequately represents the community, the diverse community that we serve, and also in ensuring that the opportunities are given to the minority and disadvantaged business, the MBEs and the DBEs. And we have maybe not always done such a great job with that, but as Thomas said, I am here to really talk about all the great things that we've been working on, some of the wheels that we've already put in motion, and how I am very optimistic that things will change. In August of 2013, Director of Administration, Richard Leach, actually commissioned an internal team to review the executive order and develop a strategy. I will tell you at that point, I was already in the recruitment for my position. They had actually advertised the position that I'm currently in, which is a Director of Human Resources position, and they had advertised it in, I'm going to say, I believe April of 2013. I was hired in December of 2013, but it was a very lengthy process. But the director had already put together this internal review team. When I came on board, shortly after I came on board in December, I started actually December 23rd, 2013. Our Meet the Gibbs came to us on loan from the Department of Commerce in early January, I think. Early January. And we really just struck up an excellent relationship and just really started the strategizing on how we were going to make this all happen. Obviously, we've got lots of good resources in the team on board who share our energy and enthusiasm. We meet all the time. We talk about what we can do, what will be done. Some of the things that we have already accomplished is, as I said, our meter is on loan from the Department of Commerce. There's also a position, or I guess 3 positions actually, in the proposed fiscal 2015 budget, which actually creates this new office. It will create an office of diversity, equity, and opportunity, and that we anticipate will be approved in the budget, in the budget passage, which will become effective in July 1st. I can tell you that I am so optimistic that it's going to go through the approval process that I've actually already started on the job description for the position. So not just a little anxious, but as a team, we have worked with the executive departments, with the cabinet members, to identify diversity liaisons in all the departments of the state government, in the executive branch, I will say. We haven't branched out to the other branches. But we have worked with them on identifying a liaison who will help us, who will be kind of the boots on the ground in the various departments, and help us to undertake these initiatives as related to, as I said, to the hiring process and to the small and minority businesses. We've already made some improvements to the recruitment process, and I will tell you that I am extremely excited because the big improvement that we have made, or that's in the works, we're actually coming into the 21st century in July. We are going to be online with our application process. And I know that you may not think that that would have a significant level of impact for the opportunities available to the minorities, but let me tell you why it does. Right now, when we have a position vacancy, we post it, it goes onto the Department of Labor and Training website. It may be advertised in some of the local periodicals. You have to affirmatively apply for that position. You have to see it when it's posted, you have to see it when it's advertised, and you have to get us your resume by the closing date. With the new online portal, what you will be able to do, and what we will be out there really encouraging people to do, is you will actually be able to build an interest card. It's actually like a mini application. That mini application goes on file. You indicate all your areas of interest, and then anytime a job gets posted that has those areas of interest, you're going to get an email. You're not going to automatically be an applicant for that job. You're going to get an email that says, we've just posted this job, you know, it matches, you know, your search criteria. And then you have the opportunity. So you don't have to constantly be scanning our website. The other thing is it gives us the opportunity to passively search the databases we have, or to actively search the databases. So we can do, we may have passive applicants. So somebody fills out an interest card but doesn't actually ever apply for anything. Well, if we saw a very specialty position that matched someone's needs, we may reach out to them. So what we will be doing, the program goes live July 1st. And unfortunately, we can't build the interest cards before July 1st. We cannot even begin to accept applications electronically until after July 1st, or until July 1st. But as soon as July 1st comes, we've actually already been working on a marketing and messaging plan. And as soon as July 1st comes, we are going to be out there really encouraging people to build the profiles so that your profile is in the system, and that we are able to contact you, or the system will automatically contact you if an opening comes in. So I see that as really improving our ability to get out there and ensure that we have the minority candidates. The problem right now is it's all contingent on you seeing the posting, seeing the ad at the time that it's posted and getting that resume in. So a lot of that will change, and I am very optimistic. We will also be using the liaisons within the departments to help us with that interview process. And we will, because we won't be shuffling so much paper. If I told you how much paper we shuffle, it would make you all sick. So just suffice it to say, we push a lot of paper. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in my life, but I'm sure I have. But we will, so the folks who now are making the copies and doing all that, those very time-consuming tasks, will really be able to spend more time with the departments in identifying the candidates for the positions. The other things that where we've made some progress are with on the small business side. We actually are working on creating some new guidelines for what are defined as small purchases, and those are generally the $5,000 purchases. We will there's actually some correspondence that will go out from the director within the next couple of weeks, I'm thinking, to the departments that will now actually put more emphasis on requiring that the small purchases, that the bids come in that they seek the quotes from the minority companies, from the MBEs and the DBEs. We've already been able to, on the master price agreements, they have actually already gone in, the purchasing department has actually gone in and identified the MBEs and the DBEs, and previously that wasn't done. People thought if they were using someone who was on the MPA, that it was okay, and it is okay, except now we're identifying the minority businesses. That way we can continue to work with the departments on the emphasis. So let's see if I got everything. The increased assistance to hiring agencies, I talked about that. So the planned initiatives, we have a number of things planned, including, as we said, hopefully the passage of the positions for the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Opportunity. It's very exciting to think about that new office being formed, and I know that I will stay actively involved, even though the EEO side won't actually even report into me anymore. Another big thing that we're really working hard with is working on our relationships in the community. I'm establishing new relationships, because although I am a Rhode Islander and will always be a Rhode Islander, coming back after being gone for 5 years, things do look a little different. Sometimes they look a little different, and sometimes it feels like, yep, it was exactly the same way it was 5 years ago. So, but I am certainly on the mission to be sure that I build new relationships and/or work to maintain and/or, if necessary, repair previous relationships within the community. And we talked about the improved recruitment process, improved tracking on the MBE utilizations, data collection. Data collection is so important. Armita and I spent the whole day, or most of the day, in a strategic planning session, and I actually felt really bad for the IT people at the end of the day, because everything comes down to data, the collection and the ability to collect the data. And unfortunately, the technology changes, like the speed of light, and with the constrained resources, we don't always have the opportunity to be on as much of the, I don't particularly love the term cutting edge, because it can also be bleeding edge, but the cutting edge of the technology world. But our purchasing department has actually been very thrifty, and they've created some quasi-automated ways of tracking things. And training programs, Cheryl is really taking her show on the road. Cheryl does a lot of training on diversity and inclusion, and she will be doing more of that training. Victor does a lot of training on preparing for civil service exams. The nice thing is that Victor is really going to expand his role, because as he's really training on the civil service exams, he's really going to be encouraging people to set up job interest cards in the automated system. A big piece of what Victor's doing out in the community and in the Department of Administration will be to encourage folks to set up those interest cards so that we have you on file and available. And as always, we look for your feedback. I welcome the feedback. It was a good exercise, and I do thank you.